Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So yesterday we saw the global release for Assassin's Creed Shadows and the numbers coming out for that game. Today, we're seeing the official release of Disney's live-action remake of Snow White. In fact, we have the numbers for the Thursday preview, and let's just say they're absolutely abysmal. This headline really says it all. Snow White opens 46% worse than the Marvels in Thursday preview box office. Legacy Media scrambles to spin it as a win. And we will see how Legacy Media is trying to spin these abysmal box office numbers as some kind of a win for Disney and this film. But before we get into the details of all this, let me just share with you guys this real quick. So today is the last day to use code REV at checkout for AdvancedGG to get 30% off your total order, and this is just in time for a new flavor jar that released. Key lime pie is the flavor. I highly recommend it. And also you can use that on my St. Patrick's Day collection that is still up for a limited time. You can see the sour rainbow candy flavor jar here, as well as my ice shakers and some of my existing products you can also use the code on. And every one of these sales helps out in a competition that also ends today, where the partner at AdvancedGG who sells the most orders during this period will have first access for their community with a new whey protein isolate, some protein powder, something different they've never done before. So we're definitely trying to push towards that, and any sales made, and you can also save 30% doing so with code REV, will help us in that competition. So yeah, I'll put a link to my page in the pinned comment, and make sure you use code REV at checkout to get 30% off before that offer is gone. Okay, so we know Snow White, this live-action remake, has been mired in controversy, mainly due to Rachel Zegler, beginning with her many terrible interviews where she was basically blasting the original film, saying very disparaging things about it. She's also made some comments about Trump supporters, among other things. Then you have Gal Gadot, who's also said things that have stirred people up. Let's just say there's basically controversy all over the place. But now we're at the phase where, well, we're going to see the results. This has been building up for about 2 years. And the headlines over the past couple of days have been very, very predictable yet strange at the same time. So you have this one from Variety saying, Snow White first reactions praise film as a visual feast and one of Disney's best live-action remakes in years. Absolutely glazing up this movie, and this was after the Hollywood premiere, which, by the way, was heavily censored by Disney. They basically shut off the media and picked their own people to highlight this event. So obviously, they're going to have a lot of positive things to say about this because they were afforded access to it by Disney, and they don't want to bite the hand that feeds, so to speak. And then we have articles like this from the Daily Beast. Sorry, haters, Disney's Snow White movie is apparently good. Haters gonna hate. It's a shock to everyone. Yeah, this will not age well whatsoever. But we also saw some articles from only 3 days ago saying Rachel Zegler talks diversity. Snow White lessons for future generations. I hope we'll see a new dawn of kindness and acceptance. Isn't that rich? Coming from the woman who told more than half of the country that they should never know another moment of peace based on who they voted for. She's definitely one who should be speaking about love and intolerance and all those things. I also noticed that there is a very strange uptick of people saying unhinged stuff in the name of Rachel Zegler, by the way. This was pointed out by Master of the DDS. Found just a never-ending list, repeating over and over again for months and months, where people are saying Rachel Zegler should be allowed to game end some of you, basically just copying and pasting it. And, you know, some people are trying to say, is this just a trend or a joke? I don't think so. Believe it or not, Rachel Zegler has a very fierce fan base. Like, they are Rachel Zegler stans, and they have been having a very rough, really couple of years as they've seen their queen get shit on by everyone because of her unhinged behavior connected to Disney's live-action remake of Snow White. On top of that, people are making excuses over the past couple of days, basically saying people don't like this film and are not giving it a chance because they don't like remakes. They don't like having a new creative story, which the response to this is a very simple one. If you want to make a new story, make a new story instead of taking an existing one and making a remake of it and basically changing all of the core aspects of that film. Now, also, we're seeing some of these attempts to shift blame onto Gal Gadot. You have this headline here, Rachel Zegler delivers a powerhouse performance in Snow White. But at the same time, Gal Gadot delivers what could be her worst performance yet. Oh, wait, Gal Gadot delivering a poor performance? That's like Fork Found in Kitchen. Okay, let's be real. The main reason she gets so many roles is because she's a very attractive woman. Her acting skills are very questionable. Okay, I think that is the mainstream popular opinion about Gal Gadot, that she's not a very good actress. And yeah, it's not too surprising to hear her performance isn't being very well reviewed. But you can see trying to shift blame here. But at the end of the day, are people going to buy tickets or not? And in the days leading up into the official release to all theaters, you know, you got this spin from the legacy media saying this is such a great movie, Rachel Zegler's killing it. But then you look at some evidence that shows nobody cares. So there's a lot of tweets like this. People sharing screenshots of showtimes and the theaters. As you can see, this was posted on Saturday night. Completely empty. Completely empty. The entire theater. This is for a Saturday night showing, which would be at this point tomorrow. So this is completely empty. Nobody's getting their tickets in advance. Here's another one. Make sure you grab your seats because, yeah, they're going to run out real soon. Completely empty. Here's another example. Someone saying, I've never seen this before in my life. Completely empty. These giant theaters that are hosting this film, they're getting absolutely no pre-orders on the tickets. No one's booking this in advance. Of course, people are going to walk up and just buy tickets without ordering them in advance, but that's what a lot of people do. They do order them in advance, and the fact that nobody's doing it is absolutely crazy. And you can see some of the previews here. Completely empty. I mean, it's just as embarrassing as these CGI dwarfs that they decided to go with. And then you see this. This was posted today. So the movie's now out officially for everyone. And you can still see one person, this is probably Rachel Zegler, buying a ticket to check out her latest performance. It's just really bad. And of course, eventually, the reviews come in across the board, and they're awful. So right now on Rotten Tomatoes, the official reviews here gives this movie a 45%. Ouch. And that's on 164 reviews. This is actually pretty bad. In fact, not a good look for them. We were being told over and over again this was an amazing live-action remake, one of the best in years. Well, it doesn't look like it, according to these reviews. On top of that, if you go to Metacritic, the Metascore is 50. And then, of course, now that the film's officially out, you can see the user score, a 1.2, with overwhelmingly negative reviews. And that is not surprising, okay? Now that the film is out, it is absolutely being crapped on left and right. And the numbers don't lie. So from Variety, who just gassed up this movie over the past couple of days, by the way, box office, Snow White makes $3.5 million in previews. The Thursday preview made $3.5 million. That is a very bad look for this film. But see the way they try to spin this in a positive way. So it says, Snow White has made $3.5 million in Thursday previews so far at the box office. It's projected to make $45 million to $55 million in its opening weekend, plus another $50 million internationally for a worldwide launch of around $100 million, which would be a disaster, by the way. They're saying it like it's a really good thing. This is a disastrous opening for a film like this that has a budget in the hundreds of millions. But they say this down here. Based on those projections, Snow White will end up below the 2023 Little Mermaid remake, which opened with $95 million, and more in line with 2019's Dumbo, which launched with $45 million. Yeah, see, this is a bit of a problem here because those movies were failures financially, and I don't think that's really up for debate. I mean, number one, looking at Little Mermaid, the more successful out of the two mentioned, they made short of $600 million box office. This was considered a financial failure. But then we're talking about Dumbo. We're comparing this to the Dumbo movie from 2019. Are you kidding me? This made $350 million worldwide. This was a colossal failure. So they're basically trying to say the fact that it's on pace with Dumbo is something good for this film. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. But with this film out and people giving their reviews and seeing what this film is all about, following through, We're noticing all the changes, how they have adapted this remake, and a lot of people are just not feeling this movie. The number one thing I have seen about this movie in reviews, the number one thing is that it's boring. That to me is pretty much the worst indictment on a movie you could ever have. Not controversy or anything like that. Boring. That's the worst thing. People will overlook a lot, especially when it comes to actors or people in the entertainment industry, if they bring out a good product. But that's not the case here. It's a boring film. People walking out, they can't even sit through this less than 2-hour long movie because it's just that stale and boring. And then the creative changes for this film are now confirmed, and they're just totally ridiculous. So let's talk about some of them. So number one, people, including myself, falsely thought this was the original preview of the Seven Dwarfs. This is actually a different faction in the film and is now obviously confirmed since people can see it in the theaters. These are the Seven Bandits. So, it's a little confusing. We have Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They still exist, the CGI ones that are an abomination. But then there's also another troop, which is the Seven Bandits. Yeah, it's a little weird, just a weird addition. Basically, all of them are completely forgettable. I mean, these 7 bandits are 7 DEI hires, if you will, but only one of them really matters, and that person is the love interest in this film. And Rachel Zegler wasn't really kidding when she basically said that she's not really sure that this guy's going to have much of a role, and also that there's not going to be a prince saving anyone. Yeah, because in this case, she is saved by a thief. And like a common theme in all of this too is like redistributing the wealth. Like they're going like full commie with this movie. But yeah, this is the change. So I guess it's more empowering that she is saved by a thief than by a prince. Bravo, Disney. That was a really good idea. Definitely really captured a lot of people with that one. But then, of course, people are just looking at the CGI dwarfs, which is just terrible. I mean, besides the fact they're just completely ridiculous looking, they just did not grab anyone at all. Like, they're not the whimsical characters that you really are seeing in the original film. They're just boring and forgetful. Like I said, the biggest thing on this movie that I see over and over again from everyone is it's boring. It's just a soulless movie. It was done just to basically get a quick cash grab, which of course is likely to backfire. But overall, like the performances too, like people seem pretty content with Rachel Zegler's performance. Like it wasn't terrible or anything. And her singing was well liked by people, but she's not Snow White. She just doesn't make a convincing Snow White. And why would she? She clearly has no respect for the original story and wants to completely change the character. So that's not surprising at all. And then Gal Gadot, I've heard it's a bad performance. And again, it's not surprising given her acting ability. But going back to the CGI dwarfs here, at the end of the day, a lot of people can say, thanks, Peter Dinklage. You did a great job, man. So in case you haven't seen this yet, Peter Dinklage, very good actor, played Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones. He made a big stink about this movie when it was originally announced, saying it would be very backwards for Disney to hire actors with dwarfism. And they listened, and they specifically mentioned his words. So then they went with the CGI dwarfs and basically cost actors with dwarfism potential roles. And in the film, ironically enough, there's multiple actors with dwarfism, but obviously none of them played the dwarfs. It's so ridiculous. Like, again, so progressive. These people are actually regressive, taking away roles from people like that. Absolutely insane. Another thing about this film is that apparently there are trigger warnings. Yes, there's trigger warnings. Disney's woke Snow White is slapped with trigger warnings about a woman deliberately poisoned and girls surrounded by ominous trees. And also the poison apple was a stupid arc in this. It has basically no effect like it did in the original film. Another weird choice, basically doesn't make you feel any bit invested in what's happening to her in the film. But overall, this is an absolute mess of a film, and we're gonna have to wait and see how the box office works out this weekend. But based on the previews, we know it's really bad. This is a very desperate spot for Disney, and deserved. I mean, they basically managed to create the ultimate firestorm here where they're making a disrespectful remake of a beloved classic movie, and then they hired two lead actresses who basically managed to piss off everyone. Like, some people are pissed off at Rachel Zegler for her comments about X, Y, and Z, and then you have people who are pissed off at Gal Gadot for her comments on X, Y, and Z, and basically you combine them and they pretty much offend everyone together. I mean, that's really bravo to Disney on that. That was something that they really created for themselves. An amazing firestorm there, managing to piss everyone off with these choices that they made. But at the end of the day, like I said, I have to wait and see the full box office numbers for this weekend. But until then, it's not looking good. And where they go from this film and how it impacts careers and Disney and all that, well, in the famous words of Rachel Zegler,
it's Hollywood, baby. But
yep, it's Hollywood, baby. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time.